I'll record. I got it recording locally.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining our ASPRS Mentors podcast. So I just want to give a brief introduction about ECPC, part of ASPRS. I'm the chair, and the ECPC, I want to welcome you. I know you're attending this podcast, and I want to just give you the advantages of being active with the ECPC. The most important thing at ECPC, our job is to connect you with continuing education resources. If there is like any webinar, any workshop, our job is to communicate effectively to people who graduate, fresh graduates, which will allow them to improve their career chances and be better prepared for future opportunity. One more thing is that we engage with international communities, international scientific communities like ASPRS. I would say at the international level, if there is any conference, ASPRS can be the door to enter into that world. Once you are involved here, you have a leadership position that you can take anywhere you go. And the most important thing why we are here is to connect you with mentors who can offer technical insights and career guidance. Connecting with mentors can happen at the conference, which is in person. But today we bring professional, successful people through a podcast. And today our guest speaker is Greg, and so he will share his insight and experience, which can be inspiring to you as a fresh graduate. And I will let Greg take it from here to do the podcast. And thank you for attending.
Thanks, Youssef. I'm Greg Stamnes. I'm the deputy chair of the ECPC. And our guest this week is another Greg Saunders. And I guess first off, Greg, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, great to be here. I'm excited to kind of kick off this podcast of being mentors. And yeah, it's kind of interesting for me because I feel like I'm still in the early stages of my career. So being a mentor is something that I haven't really been before, and it's exciting to kind of step into this role. And I think that over the last 6 years of working professionally, it's been I've gotten a lot of experience, and yeah, I'm excited to share that. So basically, my career started. I went to the University of Nevada, Reno, got a degree in geological engineering. Just wanted a career that I could be outside part of the time. I liked rocks. Finished that, and then didn't quite want to get a real job quite yet. So I took a semester abroad in Oslo, Norway. Went there, did my master's degree in natural hazards. My thesis topic was on the photogrammetric analysis of landslide tracks. So pretty much photogrammetry, terrestrial or aerial, and seeing if I could create a workflow to monitor landslides before they would actually slide. And that's kind of what got me into drone mapping. And from there, after completing my degree in Norway, worked in Norway for a little bit for the Volcanic Basins Petroleum Research Institute, and I did some photogrammetric analysis for oil fields. That was interesting, but then I decided to come back to the US, and from there I got a job at the Nevada Department of Transportation. That was my first introduction into kind of the high accuracy survey world. Prior to that, it had been relative accuracy, relative everything. And I worked at NDOT for 3 years. I helped build up the drone program there. They had a very established photogrammetry program using manned aircraft. When I got hired on, they had just switched from film to digital large format imagery. So we kind of built upon their photogrammetric workflow to build up the UAV side of things. And then after that, I decided, after 3 years at the Department of Transportation, I decided to move over to the private side of things, and I've been working on the private side of things ever since. And always, I think I'm going to be done with school or done with education, but keep on taking more tests and keep on taking more classes. So I think some of the questions later on get into that, but yeah, that's a little bit of my background and how I got to where I am.
Cool, thanks for that. So what's your total industry level experience? Is it 6 years?
Yeah, so I started at NDOT in 2016.
Okay.
So yeah.
Have you obtained any certification or licensure along your career path?
Yeah, so at NDOT, I kind of started training up, and the first thing I got, I was after 2.5 years at NDOT, I went to the Commercial UAV Expo. That was in 2019, and did the I believe that was the first time that the certified mapping technologist and certified mapping scientist for ASPRS in UAS. They had a workshop and a test, and I did that, took the test, and became a certified mapping technologist. And that was my first certification after getting degrees at school. Following that, once I fulfilled the requirements for becoming a certified mapping scientist, I took and passed that test, as well as qualified and passed the certified photogrammetry exam for ASPRS. So now I have the certified mapping scientist and certified photogrammetrist. And then about a month and a half ago, I got my professional land surveying license in Nevada. So that's very exciting. It took a while to get, but happy to have that one under my belt too now.
Yeah, congrats on that. That's always a challenging one. Has obtaining certification or licensure enhanced your career at all? For example, increased compensation or increased opportunities?
Yep, it definitely has. Upon getting the certified photogrammetrist, the company I was working for viewed me as a professional, so I got a pretty significant pay raise there. It's a reason that I switched companies to now I'm working at Dowell, and that was a big reason that they wanted to hire me as the certified photogrammetrist. We're working in different states, and multiple states have requirements that require CPs to be in responsible charge of maps and topos. So that was a big reason I got hired on here. Yeah, and the PLS definitely gave me a bump as well. And opportunities, yeah, opportunities. I got hired due to my certifications. I think in Nevada there are 4 certified photogrammetrists, so it's kind of a small pool to pull from. So hopefully that grows as well. I'm trying to encourage as many people as I can to get certified. Yeah, the more people we have certified out there, the more information is. I think groups like this are a great way to get that done too.
How does ASPRS benefit you as a certified professional?
The standards, constantly evolving standards, like the new standards that just got released, those are great. It is a great way to justifiably, or to verify your results, justify your pricing. Say if a client wants to say, oh, your price is too high for this, this, and this reason, or why you're doing so much field work, you could say, if you want to meet these standards, we have to follow these procedures. We have to make sure that the data is captured and processed in a proper manner. And it's a great way to justify our workflows internally and externally. ASPRS has also led me to groups like this, where I meet professionals around the country. Last year at Geo Week, it was great. I got to meet a bunch of people from all over the country, and those professional connections have been extremely important. And just having people that you could reach out to, talk to if you have a question. It's a small industry that we're in, and the more people we have, the more people we know, makes the job a lot easier.
Just to circle back on your comments regarding your CP, was that a requirement in Nevada, or was that something you just pursued on your own for your own?
I pursued it on my own. It's not a requirement in the state of Nevada. I believe for NDOT consultants, they require either a CP or a LS to sign off on photogrammetric data. So having an LS does negate the need for a CP. But for example, we're working with Montana DOT right now on their manual, and they're requiring an ASPRS. They are planning to require an ASPRS certified professional to sign off, and not just an LS, because an LS doesn't necessarily have the knowledge and hasn't tested for the same knowledge or the same workflow as a CP. So in Nevada, it wasn't necessary, but I do see it becoming necessary in the future, and more states adopting similar rules and regulations.
Okay, you have a good mix of education, experience, and certifications. What is more important, or is a combination of all of the above kind of important?
I'd say it's definitely a combination of all of the above. I mean, just looking at the people I work with, there are some survey field crew that are extremely knowledgeable, who don't have the certification, don't have the licensure, but I go to them with questions all the time. It's, as long as you're improving one aspect at all times, then I think you're going in a great path. Yeah, the certifications and licensures give you more responsibility, more liability. But that's not to say that people without them don't have the same skill set or greater skill sets. But in this day and age where a lot of people can watch a video on YouTube, do something, say, oh, I'm a professional at this, without a certification, there is no real way to justify that. So yeah, kind of a roundabout answer to that one, but
okay. I think you might have already answered this, but have you felt the need to continue or update your education as your career progressed?
no, definitely. In Nevada, on top of an engineering degree, you need 30 credits of geomatics courses. So on top of my engineering degree and the master's, I needed to take 30 credits of geomatics courses to qualify for the PLS. So that took a semi-substantial amount of time with working full-time. Aside from that, always getting PDHs in different ways, online forums. Now that I don't have to go to any college classes anymore, I'm trying to figure out ways to continue my education, be it through webinars. There's so many good resources nowadays. Like that, also Penn State opened up pretty much all their online courses, so you could look at all of that. I hope that more colleges do that in the future, and it's yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. It's just knowing where to find them.
Yeah, for sure. That was going to be my follow-up. Any recommended continuing education opportunities? I can vouch for Penn State as well. I've taken a couple of classes from there and found them very beneficial.
Yeah. Penn State's always good. I like the GeoLearn guys. They have verifiable PDHs on there. As far as like a weekly thing, Trent Keenan with Mentoring Mondays and Wisdom Wednesdays, he has great information if you're into surveying. Geoholics podcast is always a fun listen. There's, yeah, too many to name.
That's good. So what industry trends are you currently keeping an eye on? For example, lots of people retiring, technology trends, artificial intelligence.
Honestly, I should definitely be looking into AI more. I've used it very briefly for some programming help in Python, but I know that that's going to be a huge game changer in the future, and keeping up on that's going to be important. Yeah, a lot of people retiring is going to be interesting for sure. I think I'm not positive of the exact age, but I'm pretty sure the average age of a licensed surveyor in Nevada is 62. So that kind of leads to a large need for young surveyors and young mappers in Nevada, and I know that that's countrywide, not just Nevada specific. But that's, I mean, once you get licensed, I know there's a huge need, and it's almost overwhelming how many people come at you all the time. But it's definitely nice job security.
Yeah, it's a trend that exists in Canada as well. How important is social media for your career growth?
I never really thought it would be that important, but the more I use LinkedIn, the more I post on there. You could make a giant network of professionals all around the country. There are a lot of people asking you to outsource or do jobs all the time. It's kind of a little bit of weeding, but there's a ton of great information on there. And I've gotten multiple jobs or multiple projects from LinkedIn. Like one of my friends at the mine, he saw that I was doing a lot of modeling, and he reached out to me through LinkedIn because he saw that I was posting about it, and they had a job that we could do. And yeah, without having posted on LinkedIn and being on the socials like that, that would have been a lost opportunity. So I think it will be more important in the future. It's also important to not base everything on LinkedIn. Like conferences are amazing. Like you meet all these people on social media, but then having a face-to-face conversation is so much more valuable if that is a possibility. So
Awesome, that's a good point. What drives you in your career, and what do you love the most about your job?
Just consistently learning has been a great thing about this career. There's always, the industry is evolving so rapidly right now with different programs, different technologies. I'm mostly in the UAV mapping side of things, so just trying to keep up with technology is always engaging. And I want to keep doing that as much as I can. Sorry, what is the second part of that question?
What do you love most about your job?
Oh, yeah, constantly learning. I get to be outside part of the time. That was always something for me. I get to be outside, I get to fly, I get to be inside, I get to process data. Nice part about flying UAVs is the field work only happens on good weather days. So
Sure.
if it's too snowy, too windy, too rainy, you're probably not going to be out there. Yeah, it's just constantly evolving. There's always more to learn, and it's a good community of people.
Well, speaking of technology, what technical skills have you relied on to get to where you are today?
Yeah, technical skills, I would say one of the most important is quality control and being able to look over a data set and see issues. I think that's part of our industry that I don't want to see forgotten is you need quality control, you need ASPRS standards, you need some standard to validate your data. I'm kind of scared of a lot of companies will say, oh, fly this, push this button, it'll upload automatically to the cloud and you'll get a perfect product coming out. Black box solutions are very scary to me, and they don't really add that verification that I think is needed. So I think advancing career-wise, if you have a good eye for quality control, and data analysis, then you're going to do great.
Yeah, going back to the social media topic, I've seen a lot of those people using technology without QA and claiming some interesting accuracy figures, for example, using UAVs.
Yeah, it's always interesting when I see somebody claiming accuracy greater or better accuracy than you could get with a, let's say, RTK Basin rover. So I don't know how you're claiming data more accurate than the check shots that you're using. So, but
Yeah. Okay, I have a seemingly random question. What books have made the most significant impact on your career?
Honestly, as far as books go, I've used Waddles for the little yellow book for legal descriptions and survey. That one's been a major one for the survey side of things. Photogrammetry wise and ASPRS wise, it's elements of photogrammetry and remote sensing. I don't have it with me, but it's on my desk and usually within 10 feet of where I'm sitting. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, that book, it covers a ton. It doesn't get too into the weeds. The ASPRS manual photogrammetry is great. I try to read that, but it's also very mathematically heavy. So it's great book, great reference, good to have. But the elements of photogrammetry, the book that you just showed, I'd say that's most important one I've gotten.
Okay, who are your mentors and who inspires you?
Mentors are everybody I've worked with along the way. Not necessarily people who have been my boss or above me. It's just anybody who I've worked with and has shared their knowledge with me. Survey field crew, chainmen, chiefs, they've all helped me in the field aspect of surveying. As far as a couple names, NDOT, there was Bill Beck. He was a great guy. He is a great guy. Still talk to him a bunch. He pushed me to get ASPRS certified. At Wood Rogers, there was Michael Detweiler. He's a library of information, and he is a great resource if anybody needs anything or has any questions as far as remote sensing. A lot of things go. Yeah, just constantly trying to learn from anybody around me. And it's important to, once again, make sure that you're not getting mentored only from people who work above you or your bosses, but also anybody who works in the same field, anybody around you. There's tons of resources out there, and if you limit yourself to certain people, then you're gonna limit yourself in your career.
So how did you find and connect with them? Are they mainly people that you've worked alongside with throughout your career?
A lot of them, the two I mentioned have been my bosses, but they're people that I've worked alongside with. But then LinkedIn has showed me a bunch of people. There's been the last time when I went to Geo Week, I was part of a DACM on defining what it is to be a UAS scientist, and that was very interesting. I got to work with a couple people like Cody Condren, I believe his name is, from Texas, and I love following up on his posts on LinkedIn and seeing what he's doing. So Geo Week helped me meet people outside of my own, I guess, work social bubble, and LinkedIn as well. Great to see, like, following different people. Also, another thing with mentors on LinkedIn, make sure that there's no real peer review to any posts on LinkedIn. So be careful with what information you see as true. A lot of people are touting the best drone or the best this or the best that, and that's always kind of a red flag to me. I like data instead of catchphrases.
That's good advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Dude, I don't know. It's yeah, there's a lot of pieces of advice. I'd say always keep learning. Don't know exactly. I think everybody tells you that, but the moment you stop learning, or the moment you think you're the best in your industry, is the moment somebody passes you, and the moment you lose your oversight of what's going on. So never think you're the best. Never think you're the smartest. Never think you're any of that. Just always know that there's more to learn and more people to learn from.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And if you get to that point where you think you know it all, you could be at the top of Mount Stupid, which is not a good place to be.
No.
So I guess, what advice would you give to young professionals who eventually want to follow your footsteps?
If you want to follow my footsteps, it's going to be a winding path. I definitely, looking back in my career, I was thinking about this. If I were to have finished high school and said I want to do exactly the job that I'm doing right now, I definitely could have gotten here in a more direct path. But the thing that I would advise is just keep trying things until you find something you like. Because I thought I was going to be a geological engineer, and then I thought I was going to be monitoring landslides, and then now I'm UAV mapping, and it's always evolving, it's always changing, and you have to be fluid with the changes. If something interests you, go follow that. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of smart people who could help you along the way. Just don't worry about kind of taking a winding path. I think that'd be my biggest piece of advice.
Awesome, I like it. How do you organize and manage your time?
Poorly. No, I coming out of academics, I was very focused on getting the right answer or taking time. Getting into the private side of the industry, you have a lot of budgets, you have a lot of deadlines to meet. So it was kind of a switch. Using my calendar, writing down things, having a whiteboard of projects or status, that's all been extremely important. And I think that's where I could learn the most as I progress in my career of time management. Yeah, you have knowing how fast you can do things and knowing how to reach deadlines on time is super important. I'm not an expert at it. I'm getting better at it every day, but yeah, just make sure that you don't overpromise, and you don't, because if you overpromise, then you're gonna not look good in the future. Whereas if you set realistic expectations, or okay, a project is going slowly, I'm gonna notify the client right when I notice it's going slowly, is a lot better than the day of saying, hey, this project is going to be delayed. If you just are transparent with your process, your timelines, and everything from the get-go, it's going to be a lot easier. And don't be afraid to have conversations with clients or bosses or anybody. Just yeah, honesty is key, and managing time it can be stressful, but don't let it get stressful, and just be on top, be proactive and managing timelines. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I have one more question, and then maybe we'll open it up to see if there's any questions from the live attendees. Are there any expectations you've had about your career that turned out to be different from reality?
Partially, yes. I definitely did not see myself, well, coming from the start to where I am now, I definitely did not see myself in this position. I am happy that I am where I am now. I'm very happy that I found a career that I like. I think one thing that's been a major difference in what I thought coming into it is the reliance on community, and the constant, I guess, reliance on community in the sense that you get to a certain point, and I always looked at my mentors as, oh, this person knows so much, but what they are actually good at is knowing who to go to, knowing where to get information. They maybe do know a lot, but this ability to know how to ask questions and know where to get answers is an insanely important part of this industry, as probably any industry. So I think that's a kind of biggest change in my mind of, okay, these people above me, these people who are my mentors, they're just great at finding answers instead of they know everything already.
Excellent. Youssef, I guess if we have a look at the chat here, I see some comments. If anybody has any questions they want to ask, just raise your hand and we can call you out here. There was a recommendation of the Mapscaping podcast from Stuart, so thanks for that. I think I've heard a couple that I never heard of before, so that's good. Yeah, I guess if we have no live questions.
I will ask a question. I want to ask a question. So a lot of people when they are a fresh graduate, the most important thing for them is the stressful part is the interview. So if you go back to your early, like your fresh graduate, the industry is still like, you know, a stranger, intimidated by the interviewer and stuff like that. So I want you to tell me how you're at the beginning, the interviews versus when you have your certification. Do you see a difference, more confidence, people like, you know, the interviewer are more like engaging instead, or more like you're more appealing to them, they want to keep you, it's just they do it as a you know, they have to do the interview. How does that work in your opinion?
So right when I finished my master's degree in Norway, it was the oil crisis out there. So oil prices dropped. Norway is a high oil producing company. Pretty much every job I applied for was 400 to 500 applicants of very overqualified people. The few I got interviews on, it was extremely stressful. It was more of a prove to us what you know. And they didn't look at my resume. They didn't know anything about me. And I had to really show what I could give them. And that was pretty stressful. In the end, I didn't end up getting a position out there at the time. And then I came back to the US, and it was definitely okay, I need to just find a job that kind of matches my description, but not be, or my experience, but not be completely locked into one field, one line of study. And I think just showing that I knew a broad range of information and I was able to speak, and just, especially in the early interviews, you have to show a desire to learn. Showing the desire to learn is why I got the job at NDOT, I believe, and showing the desire to want to build my career was very important. Now in my career, it's completely different, I'd say. Like, especially, I posted on LinkedIn that I got my PLS, and within a couple days, there were 5 recruiters in my inbox asking me different things, asking me if I wanted to switch jobs, telling me grass is always greener on the other side. I am very happy with where I am now, and the projects are great. Got to say that, but yeah, it's definitely different. I think at the last meeting, Youssef, you mentioned that after you're a certain point in your career, you never have to make a CV again. And I feel like that's basically where I'm at now, where the interview will be more of a, like you said, just to do it because you have to do it, not because it's needed. And once you get your name out there, your certifications, people could look you up, and it's very clear your background, your history, your work experience. Yeah, so completely different now. But yeah, in the beginning, it's definitely just show your desire to learn and show examples of that in the interview, and I think that's extremely helpful.
One last question. What is your advice to the people like who are at early career, but they still have some interns or stuff like that? What's your advice like when you were in that position? What they would like to hear? You're like, because a lot of people they come and they might not continue. How we can keep them from that sense,
Yeah.
as we wanna grow the number of people who come to geospatial industry. And
Yeah.
this is something. So, in your opinion, what needs to be done at that level? Somebody come for an intern, how,
I think community engagement's a big thing. So, for example, I joined the Nevada Young Surveyors about 3 years ago. There were 8 of us in there, young surveyors. We were all trying to progress our careers in surveying, and having that community around us. I believe all 8 of us, well, there were more in and out, but there were 8 of us who have all become licensed in the last 3 years through the Nevada Young Surveyors, and that's because we could all study together. We all would push each other to take tests. We would all push each other or provide study information, helpful tips and tricks. And I think that like Nevada Young Surveyors was an amazing thing. It still is an amazing thing. And if anybody could get involved in peer groups where you have the ability to just work with people who are at the same stage in your career, it's a lot easier. You could talk about, oh, I'm making this much money here, I'm making this much money here, I feel like this helped me out in my job, this helped me out in my job. This just having that career group is extremely important. Yeah, involvement in the community is the biggest thing. And to get people in, if you have a good young surveyors, young professionals, student advisory committee or the ECPC, like that will all foster community and get people more involved. And once you have those connections, it's harder to leave, I'd say.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Greg, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could kind of talk about the transition for you from going from being like the field guy to more managing the field guys. And just if you have any nuggets of wisdom from sometimes I feel like people want to be really hands-on with the data where you have to more mentor the people below you to get the data you want. And maybe talk about that process a bit.
I'd say one of the this is another good piece of advice I got in my career is train yourself out of a job. So make sure that everybody you're working with, if you want to progress, make sure everybody you're working with could do the exact same things you could do efficiently, effectively, and then you could move on to the QA part. Or let's say you're in the field, you want to grow the drone program, make sure other people know the exact steps in flying, the exact steps in airspace safety, all that. And then once you get that down, just train yourself out of a job consistently, because that will prove that you know what you're doing to the point where you could train it. And if you could do that, then you could move on to the next thing, the bigger thing, the better thing. And once you have all those skills kind of in your toolbox, then you could kind of pick and choose which projects you want to do what on. And yeah, training yourself out of a job is always, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I like that. I'm trying to do that as much as I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Greg, for being our guinea pig for our first podcast. If anybody wants to reach out to you, how can they get in contact with you if they want to ask you more or learn more about you?
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to me, Greg Saunders on LinkedIn, or I think it's Gregory Saunders now. I have to validate my name. So Gregory Saunders on LinkedIn, or gregmsaunders@gmail.com. Feel free to email me, write me, message me. Definitely available for that. And yeah, feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.